Clash of Clans Podcast, OG, Episode 9. Welcome to the podcast. I'm Scotty827. Here with my friend and co-host TipDog20. And we were just talking about
start the podcast. Start it.
Yeah.
Press record. Quick. Go.
And this is what it's been like up to this point. So it's me really just trying not to talk out loud at all. And so we're talking about the future of the Vision Pro and Apple and what Clash of Clans could look like right before the podcast started.
Yeah.
And how cool that will most likely be in the future and what my vision of it would be that we'd be having a 3-dimensional board. And because if you just look at the map already, and just imagine that map was floating in front of you in 3 dimensions.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have your army controls, and then you could probably arrange them around your interface anywhere you want. So you're like, oh, I'll put my tier 2 troops over here, to grab them. But then I'd imagine you'd spin the board and grab and drop your troops or stand above it. And then the mortars would be, shooting straight up and launching. So you would be seeing the entire battle in the 3 dimensions.
Almost like it was on Star Wars, right? Whenever they played that game on the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah, exactly.
With the monsters, and they were smash the monsters like that. That's how I kind of picture it. That would be really cool.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if they don't already have it or aren't already working on it, because it's really what these things are built for.
Right?
Things like where you can have a chess game in front of you, sitting there on a fake stand, or this Clash, you could just really see it like if it's in 3 dimensions, then you could go, I like to attack looking from the top view, or I like to
spin the board in front of you.
Yeah, do anything. You could zoom in, drop those troops right there, and then imagine what the replays on something like that would be like. Even if you had a 2D replay of a 3D battle like that, that would be pretty cool.
That would be awesome. I can imagine they have to have a team they're a multi-billion-dollar company. Of course, they're going to have a team working on how they can adapt Clash of Clans to the Apple Vision Pro, right? Of course.
Oh, yeah, of course. Because think about when Clash of Clans came out, the iPhone was only
2 inches
old.
big.
Yeah,
it was teeny tiny.
I think it was around. I think it was before even you could get an iPhone outside of AT&T, right? So like it was. So some people could play on Android, like I was playing on Android, and then went to iPhone, and so they were there at a time when the app stores and things were just starting. And if you went back in time, that has been on the App Store top charts for
12 years.
Right. And that is
over.
Well, yeah, it's 3/4 of the time the App Store probably has even been there.
Yeah.
And so if you are Supercell, I would imagine you'd want to get that little edge in on like the next thing.
So my son, he already has one of the, I forget what it's called. We got it for him for Christmas. It's not the Apple one. I think it's the Facebook one. Meta.
Oh, yeah.
Is that what it's called?
Yep. I got
the Meta VR.
Yep.
And he plays it all the time. But there's this game called Gorilla Tag, and you're literally
I've seen that.
Like walking around this room, chasing people. Granted, you're in one spot, but it's really cool how they have it set up, and it's obviously going to be the future of gaming.
The one game on there that I really liked, but of course, then you get people just shit talking constantly, and you got a 15-minute match, and at the end of your day, you maybe get a half hour, and then you get on there with a bunch of tool bags, and it just
the nicest thing you've ever said about them,
right? but but this one was like it's called Population One, and it's
Oh,
Fortnite in VR. It's
yes. No, my
cool.
son plays that. Maybe he's played against you.
Probably he's probably one of the shit talk. No,
You're
just
probably
kidding.
no, no, no,
No,
no.
no, and it's fun. It was really cool. Like so I could just imagine. I don't think they would go to the level of like, hey, you're gonna be one of the characters, like, or at least right away. But I think you would probably take like the very essence of the game, the map and um the board and the dropping and all those elements that have kept it where it has been for so long.
And you know what will be super cool is if they could integrate geography. So you have mountains and
Yeah.
valleys and rivers to where you can place your town hall up on top of this hill or this mountain, and
Yeah.
the giants to get up to the town hall go, zero point 0.5 tiles slower per second because they're going up a hill rather than just, this flat surface. Because if you look at a real battleground, I mean, it's rocky and it's ravenous and you have to traverse
Yeah.
all of these dangerous obstacles. So why can't we incorporate that into our
What
troops while attacking?
and like I watched that Napoleon movie and his thing. No, okay, don't quote me on history here, but one of his gifts was cannon placement,
Mm-hmm.
and he'd kick the shit out of people with cannons. And so you get to play like the third dimension of the gameplay, and then you could build like put a cannon on top of something. Then you
That's
keep
next
the
level.
yeah.
Next
Well,
level.
just congratulations, by the way. We talked about last week, and we were just in the middle of when we started recording, talking about the things we're going to talk about. But holy shit, I just got to say this before I forget. So we talked about the idea of master or the
Oh,
masterminder.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Well,
That was your idea, by the way.
I kind of had the idea, and then Tip Dog goes and knocks it way the hell out of the park.
It was a fun
Right?
video to make. Fun
He
video.
makes this video that basically hand supercell everything for the miner and placement. He's got uh or ore per day and things like this. And it looks like a video of you discussing the new released masterminder.
It's just a cool idea. Like, and that's how I wanted it to come across is this is, and I even said, like, this is something that Scotty 827 came out with. Awesome idea. I love it. But unfortunately, I don't think that Supercell's going to introduce something like that because there's been a lot of players who have commented who have said something like this will never be introduced in game because the reason that Supercell introduced ore into the economy was to boost activity. So in order to get this very valued and treasured ore, you have to participate in the game by warring, by getting your daily attacks in. And that is their ultimate goal. I mean, secondary or primary or secondary is, of course, to make money, but their main goal is to get more activity in the game. And if you can just collect it through a mine or a pump or a drill, something like that, then that reduces the amount of activity that you have to have in the game, which is similar, for example, whenever they used to have to where you could literally buy as many resources from the trader shop with raid medals as you wanted. And so players weren't playing the game. They were just using all of their raid medals every single week to buy elixir and gold and dark elixir that they needed over and over and over again until Supercell said, yeah, this is reducing activity. So we have to stop this. So they made it to where you can only collect those resources once per week. And I think that's the same reason why they might look at an idea like this and say, I mean, kind of cool, but
Here's where I agree with them and I disagree with them. Just with two words for now.
mm,
Because as the hero equipment gains levels, as the levels progress, right?
mm-hmm,
The beginning and the end of the game have to stay consistent.
right.
And so if you've got heroes, to compete, your heroes have to be X level. eventually the end of the game would be too far out of reach with the same economy.
Well, and two, ore collection levels at Town Hall 16 aren't that bad. I mean, I've run the numbers, and a max Town Hall 16 who's in Legends, who is warring, back to back to back, who's doing CWL, can actually max out a piece of common equipment every 22 days. So that's pretty quick. But I ran the numbers for that video, and for
Yeah,
like a Town Hall
that's
12
not
or
bad
Town
at
Hall
all.
13, it's going to take around 60 days for them to max out their equipment, which means in a year, they're only going to get 6 pieces maxed. All right, I forget the exact numbers. It was like 10 months or 11 months is how long it would take for them just to max out all 8 pieces of their equipment to level 15. So at the lower Town Hall levels is where they really need more ore, because in my opinion, it's taking too long at the lower levels and it's too easy to get at the higher levels.
Yeah. And they could just increase rewards
They
and
could do that.
stuff like that, right? But
Yeah.
and I'm gonna hold to this only because of this. They are doing it, they're telling a story with the items. And if it was hero rewards, or if it was war rewards, or if it, the ore and the
Mm-hmm.
shiny ore, that to me is part of a story because it is within a theme.
That's one thing that a lot of players have complained that Supercell is not very good at. So, for example, World of Warcraft is amazing when it comes to legend and storytelling. They have a backstory. So, for instance, I play Hearthstone, which is a Blizzard game. And every time they
Like you
introduce
just
a
walk around
new
in a blizzard.
card, yeah, they
Yeah.
introduce a new card set, they have this storyline, a beautiful storyline that's interwoven with World of Warcraft, which is connected to Warcraft 2, which I played all the time when I was in high school.
Awesome.
So the stories are beautiful. But Supercell, other than like Clashorama or some outside companies who will do cartoons and stuff for them, they've never really told stories about any of the characters. So we've never really gotten to know them. So while yes, I think it would be amazing, and maybe this is their first opportunity. Here's
Mm-hmm.
this master ore miner, and this is how he got to the game. He struggled in this other far off country, and they didn't appreciate the ore and the abilities, and so he's bringing these abilities to you. He has 3 children and a
Yeah.
partner, and like all this whole backstory.
Two
Like that would be
lives,
amazing.
double lives. He's got 2 families. He's married to Deb, the ice road trucking minion. It's Deb.
And up pops the Valk.
Deb here on the CV. Yeah. Well, I just think that because it comes out of the ground,
Yeah.
or just at the very fundamental. But maybe what I should do is do like a Miss Cleo corner. The TV psychic from the
Mm-hmm.
80s, where I just do my oracle of stuff of Clash to come. And I just want to say this about that. Maybe the idea came from me. I threw the pitch and you knocked it way the hell out of the park with that. And if Supercell didn't have it on the books, they should do it right now, because you just did the work of a team for, I don't know, a week.
What's interesting is they're coming out with the events for April, and I actually text you this, but there is
I just
no
saw
new
it.
hero equipment for April, none. And
Thanks,
they
everybody.
said it
Thanks,
was based
everybody.
on player feedback.
Yeah. Everybody's complaining. Now I keep wondering, what would it have been?
Oh, it would have been the rocket spear, 100%.
Oh,
Like
it'd
they
be,
would have broke that
oh,
out.
that's right.
But
Okay. I was
so
thinking
me and
quicksand or something.
me and BD. Oh, and actually, they have some interesting events that we need to talk about for sure. But me and BD Legend,
Excellent.
whenever we were initially talking about hero equipment on a Clash Tips episode, we were like, oh yeah, maybe one piece of equipment every other month, but that would be 6 a year, and that's a lot. And man, they just broke out 20 pieces of equipment in 3 months. So it's like they have no problem with putting out more pieces, but I definitely think it's the right decision. 100% gives players a chance to breathe. gives players a chance to use the equipment that they have, to not feel like, oh my gosh, here's another piece that I have to upgrade. So I just hope that they can hold off as long as possible. Although I think that we'll probably get another piece in May. Which, is it good? Is it bad? I don't know. What do you think?
I don't. I get it. I think that there's a lot of people who really like to just collect, and they're finishers, the completionists.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing wrong with that at all. And I think that the the hero equipment coming out too fast probably was tough for people who really like to do that.
Yep.
And for me,
Without feeling like they had to spend a lot of money.
right, without like, figuring out the war thing, kind of, I'm sure if you're at even an elite, no, I mean, any level, but like if you're like elite war clans and stuff, I mean, that could probably be pretty disruptive
Oh
and
yeah.
stuff, because all of a sudden the balance all of a sudden comes down to money.
Mm-hmm.
And I get that. For me, it's not really such a big deal because I've got some sitting there that are level 2. I don't care that much. I will, as I do it, but I just it doesn't affect me too much. I get it. I get it though.
Yeah.
So it doesn't affect me too much either if they don't release it. Cause like I've got, well, maybe by the end of this episode, I will be at Town Hall 14. We'll have to see
Yeah.
about that.
Very nice.
It has been a struggle of
You're
waiting, but, and I can talk about that, but um, I'm going to get up to Town Hall 14. And I think maybe with people in the middle like me who are already doing and trying to even unlock the equipment that they have, it's just not a major concern either way.
or yeah,
You know,
if I mean for piddly players like us, like we don't care, but it does make a huge difference for any player who wants to be uber competitive.
yeah.
Because, for example, the Warden's Fireball is
Oh,
the
I love it.
primo example of that. Because, for instance, there are specific strategies where the Fireball is amazing, but unless you're going to spend a bunch of money, you're not going to have that Fireball maxed out anytime soon. I mean, I used mine for the first time in a war attack because I was doing a super archer blimp, and I thought, well, I might as well. So I upgraded it to level 6, and didn't do much, but at least it was something. But for players who are like, this is a perfect base for the fireball, but damn you, Supercell, like I have to spend a bunch of money in order to get it, and that pressure is there. I can see why those players would be
Yeah.
extremely frustrated.
And it's like, okay, give us the opportunity to have got whatever.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and I get that. And I suppose I have to kind of play to all levels, but like with the hog puppet and with the the haste with a
Mm-hmm.
gem
Haste
or whatever,
file.
haste vial, uh didn't phase me, except for the fact that it really made me want to push the town hall button, or the button to town hall 14, like right
Yep.
away,
Yep.
because I want those hogs in my pocket
I
so
used it
bad.
today. Did you see it?
I did see it.
It was
And
nice. It was
then I
nice.
went and looked at those, and thank God I watched your war attack. You can see there's a difference because I went and did my first one and it didn't go very well. And then I watched you attack and you were so patient at the beginning. And then when I did it, I was way more patient with my second attack in letting the
Yep.
funnel happen. So
Yep.
thank you for that, by the way.
No, and that is huge. So with any attacker, one of these skills, and I'm not saying that I'm a skilled
No, you're
attacker, not
skilled.
at all.
You
But
are definitely skilled attacker.
one of the things that a player has to learn is funneling, and funneling takes time. Like
Yeah.
if you put down a Yeti to, and actually shout out to GCBC because he brought his Town Hall 13 over and he was doing
Yeah.
an
Big shout
attack,
out.
and we were laughing because he didn't quite get his funnel right, and
Oh,
his
God.
troops went around the area, when if he had been a little more patient, which again is the mark of a player who understands the details. The details
Yeah.
of attacking it. Just it's a next level skill. and we were kind of joking about it. He was like, "Oh, that funnel though," because he got it. Like you just, and
Are you
if you
looking at my
watch his
attack?
attack, well, if you look at his attack, he took like the first 45 seconds to a minute just carving out the funnel, putting a one Yeti here with a super archer behind it, one Yeti here with a super archer behind it, just waiting, and then smash right at about
Yeah.
2 minutes, sending the rest of his troops in.
And here's the thing. Even if you don't know what you're doing and you do that, people will think you know what you're doing and it just went wrong. In my opinion.
True. No, I mean, because funneling is one of the most
tip. Just
difficult.
pretend to be a good attacker.
It is though, like
Yeah, it
funneling.
is.
And when I watch pros attack, they have the ability to funnel with the least amount of troops. And that's the difference between a pro player and a player like me. So a player like me, I may not see any way to funnel other than using a Yeti, which is 18 troop space. I'm like, man, I can't think of any stupid way to funnel here other than wasting 18 troop space with the Yeti. When a pro will be like, oh, you didn't think that I could put a giant down that walks forward and then, a sneaky goblin in and then a wizard behind that. And then that's only 12
they're jumping
troop
on
space.
backs and yeah.
Exactly. So they know way, like funneling is one of the highest skill things in the game, and learning how to do just the basics. I know just the basics of it, but learning just the basics of it can help you be so much more successful whenever you're doing your attacking.
Well, I think you know more than the basics, to be honest with you. And it and honestly, in the last week after we talked the last time, I had watched your Super Bowler attacks. Watching that clock and seeing 137, 142, these times before you actually started your main basically says to me, I'll start an attack. Tip would tell me to wait. Tip would say, wait. You just say, hang on there. What are you waiting for?
Cross your legs.
Give it a minute. Cross your legs. Let him go. Let him go, little one. And so that
gotta last longer than a minute.
Yeah, and I forgot that on my first war attack. I was like, hey, I got him in there. Oh, I gotta rescue those healers, or I gotta get that thing. That was my next thought on it. And I watched you and I was like, yeah, he took time. I saw that. And in fact, not only did it really made me think, did you see on the second attack that I did? I found a hole and I thought, well, what would Tip do? And no, what I actually thought was these guys have these clan castles, and that's what happened in my first attack that just held me up. Well, amongst other things, because I can't barely path with 2 overgrowth spells. And so I'm like, they're putting in ice golems and pig dogs or lava hounds, and the heroes are just stuck for a while. And I thought, you know what, it's a trend. I'm guessing there was a little hole, so I dropped over the amount of giants I needed and drew them out. But that I think saved my second attack too.
Yeah.
It's hitting down, but I like that. I don't mind being a bully. You're on a base.
Feels good. It feels good every now and again.
Yeah, it has been a little bit more strategic,
and it'll just take time. Like it'll take time for you to get used to it. Like it took time for me to get used to it. I've just been playing Clash for a really long time. Like it just takes time,
I have been doing really good because CWL is upon us again tomorrow. So hence the town hall drop. But with CWL coming up, last time what I didn't do was put my RC up like right before wars started, so I didn't practice with her at all. And so it ended. I knew it. I would run into CWL War Day with RC down, so I've been hanging on and trying her in attacks and practicing, and I also I was just throwing her in with the other heroes. But again, watching your video, I'm like how you kind of brought her in from the side or for
Mm-hmm.
cleanup, and that has worked really well.
It's exciting though, isn't it? Like once you see it, you can't unsee it. And then
Yeah.
it's almost like the Matrix where you start looking at bases and you're like, okay, I can funnel
Yeah.
here. I can do my main troop push here. I can funnel on this side with my Archer Queen. I can bring my RC in here. Like I learn new stuff. Like every time I do a war with my Town Hall 16, I will watch the opponent's attacks. Because I mean, the guys in our clan they're really good. Like they're very good
Yeah.
attackers. But most of the time, they use the same types of attacks every single time,
Yeah.
whether that be Lalo, whether that be Root Riders or whatever. But I go and I watch the enemy's 3 stars on our bases, and I see new stuff. And I'm like, oh, that's a completely different way of looking at it. That's genius. So I'm definitely learning stuff every day, and it's exciting to learn something new like that.
Well, yeah, and if you understand the fundamentals a little bit different, like you know, like the freaking healers for one, the warden from our last shows,
Mm-hmm.
understanding just the basics a little bit more have been like, oh my god, that is
but
wow. But it's
but you wouldn't have
awesome.
known that. But you wouldn't have
No,
that's
because
impossible to know.
they don't put it on the troop stuff.
Right. Yeah. It's not there. They don't go into detail on that, on
Yeah,
those
they
details.
so you really have to kind of gather it or go online and they
Or listen to an amazing podcast, to
well
learn that kind of
to
stuff.
one person on the
No.
podcast.
You're so funny. All right. So let's talk about events that are happening
See,
this month.
I'd be the guy. I'd be the guy that specializes in the how not to do something videos, like the danger, like oh he fell from the train kind of thing, or don't be that guy. That's how I would do it. But it's been fun. I've been trying out a bunch of new things. You probably look at my tax and go, you know, you look at somebody's and go, wow, they're doing something different here. And you look at mine, you probably go, what the hell is he doing?
No, not at
No,
all. I,
I
I
just,
see, I see, oh my gosh, like that was a great, I mean, even with your first attack, like you were funneling on the sides. You put down a couple Yetis, you had
trying some
a regular
bowlers.
bowler, and then you sent your bowlers up the middle. Like they can definitely be your attacks can be refined, but you have the general idea really well. You just have to figure out how to refine it and just get
Yeah.
better at that specific attack. And
I
Town
knew
Hall
on some
14,
of it right at the beginning that like,
yeah,
oh, my healers, they latched on. And then I knew now, like, okay, that was a problem.
and you
Um,
notice they lashed on to the troops that were being hit
yeah, yeah. And I didn't
because
think
it's
they
their
were,
AI.
and I wasn't putting them far enough away. And that's where I was trying to remember even right before that, like, should I drop the warden before or after? Because if they're going to fold in, maybe I want it targeting the warden. But
Right.
then I'm like, no, the eagle's going to be smashing them. So yeah, I'm playing with those things a little bit, but
You're gonna have a
I'm
blast whenever you get root riders.
this the second attack though. I have to tell you, Maximus was watching it and he goes, "Wow, that looks like a real coordinated attack." And I said, "Just looks that way." Because I've been practicing that, but I mean, it did come
Yeah.
together really nicely, like way better than I had hoped. There's a point where I pray, kind of thing. Like, okay, I've got it to this point. I got to hope that this happens. It should, but I'm getting better. I definitely can see that.
Definitely 100%.
Uh,
100%.
so also we have the world championship,
Oh, right, right.
and this has been a little confusing to me.
The qualifiers.
The qualifiers.
Hmm.
What do you know about it? I can kind of tell you what I've read the rules. Uh, I still didn't really understand the rules because I still thought you could take a TH 14 or a 12.
So,
Just because the tournament hub says like there's a box there for everybody in the clan or whatever, but on that, but I didn't look down far enough, and the
mhm.
box is more outlined for the TH16s. Like it looked like I could select it, but I didn't want to select any of the TH14s, but I couldn't. actually. So I was thinking to myself, like, I could go in and do it, maybe just check it out for the podcast, but
You could always rush to Town Hall 16.
I could.
Yeah.
I'm tempted. No, I'm not yet.
Not going to do that.
Not yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if I go faster through 14
Mm-hmm.
a little bit, just to see, just depending on where we hit with L, right? Because if we're really getting outmatched, continue to get like super heavy bases, things like that, maybe it makes sense that I just go up a little bit more and research the troops and then kind of fill in. But
We might drop, but I mean, I think there's a chance we might stay in Masters 3.
yeah,
Like we have a heavy enough lineup to where we might actually be able to hang in Masters 3, even if we drop one more level, we'll be in Crystal 1, and we will have no problem hanging in Crystal 1. Like no problem at all.
and I've really kind of been aiming it in a way that, like, all through 13, I just went through it like, okay, I might go up. I did all the things that I would need to do that you would be in a checklist before, hey, go
Right.
up. So, and it kind of seems to me, again, like Tunnel 14 is also Tunnel 13 Part 2.
Yep.
So yeah, I wouldn't be, I guess I'm less opposed to going up.
And the only important thing that you want to make sure that you get done at Town Hall 14 is your pet house. Like that's the big thing.
I'm building that dog house.
You're
first thing.
You're fine.
Actually, I know. I have enough to get I have a hammer building, or I could buy a hammer building with my previous CWM elves because I've been saving up, and I have the spell book, or not the spell book, the book of
building,
and so that's what I'm going to use for my TH. And then I could do that, or I could buy 4 builder potions.
Don't forget to upgrade your CC if you can.
I know that's your number one thing.
Yeah, that's number one at Town Hall 14 because you get that extra spell slot. You get 5 extra troops, which you get at every CC level, but you also get an extra spell, and that's huge. That's an extra freeze. That's an extra invisibility spell. It's you can fit a clone in there now. So a clone is 3 spell space. So you can't fit a clone spell in Town Hall 13 and below, but you can fit a clone spell in your CC Town Hall 14 and up.
Are you using clones?
So I'll use clones these days pretty much only with a Super Archer blimp. And Maximus actually did a Super Archer blimp. I think it was 2 wars ago. That's where you send a blimp in, you protect it with typically loons or a pig dog, and then you drop it and then double clone it, rage, and then viz typically 6 times. And you just take out huge chunk of the base. And then you typically will follow that up with like dragons or, at Town Hall 15 and 16, we'll follow it up with Root Riders. Or before Root Riders at Town Hall 15, we'd follow it up with E-Titans.
Yeah.
Or like a hero smash. That was really popular too. Heroes and super barbarians, kind of funneling your heroes into the base. Super powerful. That's pretty much the only time that I use clone spell.
Okay. I haven't really played with it too much. Might be nice in that core, but core with invis with super bowlers.
Yeah.
I could, but I like my overgrowth. And and I guess I'll have to start the research stuff, but I'm not in a super rush to get that going because I still have stuff cooking. Again, it's like Town Hall 13 Part 2, so I'm excited. I have to do it live on the.
Yes, I have so many troops to do. Like I just went up to Town Hall 14, so I maxed out my balloons, and my pig dog was already maxed out.
So that was your first order.
Yeah, so I need to get my hogs up 1 level to have them maxed out. I need to get my miners up 1 level to get those maxed out. Been working on my bowlers so that way my super bowlers are higher because that's what I'll be using a lot of.
Is that how it works?
Yeah, so the super troop is connected to the regular troop. So if you have level 9 hogs, then your super hogs in the sauna are going to be level 9 super hogs. So if you can upgrade your regular hogs, then your super hogs get upgraded at the same time.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, that's it, folks. No. Okay, well, that makes sense. Okay, well, now I'll have to think about
Good.
oh my up.
You got to think about what super troops you want to be
Yeah,
max
I would have
when
been doing
upgrading your
things a little
regular
bit
troops in the lab.
differently than with some of these. I don't have to check and look here to see what I got going.
Well,
Okay,
it
so
would be kind of cool
they
if like
correspond,
your
huh?
super troops were already maxed for your town hall level. It didn't depend on your regular troop. That would be a really cool feature. Maybe Supercell will do that one day.
See, and
But
that's how I thought they were doing it. I thought
yeah,
they
and that would
had
make
like an
sense. Like I can
independent
understand
troop
that.
to be
Yeah,
like, oh, you're at this town hall level, you can even the playing field. Uh,
they are super.
yeah, they're, they're super. And wow, there's a peanut butter face moment. No, this one wasn't quite a peanut butter face moment. I was just gonna look at well, because I didn't do my minions, and I've been sitting here like looking for things to do, and I go, you
Mhm.
know what, I got my hogs up, and I let me see here. Could I have researched my minions? Yes, I could have.
Well, so super minions aren't used really in like regular war attacks.
What?
So the way that super minions are used are when you have a blimp and you put
Okay.
super minions in your blimp, and similar to like the super archer blimp. So let's say you want to do a lot of damage in an area, but there's likely to be lots of ground traps. So there's likely to be giant bombs and spring traps and stuff like that. So you don't want to land a super archer blimp because your super archer is going to come out and they're just going to get blown to smithereens. Well, instead, you bring super minions, which are donated to you by a clan member, or you give to yourself using raid medals. And those are max at your town hall level because they're in your CC. But if you bring minions, they're at whatever level they are in your barracks, like in your lab. But then you will drop the blimp, the super minions stay in the air, you invis them, double clone them, rage them, very similar to super archer blimp. That's a really powerful attack too, but
Jesus,
I
that
just
what do you
don't use
call
it very
that? The
much.
sprinkler?
You're why is it called the sprinkler?
Well, just to be like a bunch of, like a
Bunch
sprinkler
of
head.
spitting zombies.
Yeah, just shooting off all different directions.
Yes, super powerful.
Yeah,
Really powerful. It's used a lot
I
with like
never even
dragon
thought about.
attacks. So if you use a dragon attack, a lot of times, and as you saw, like a lot of players are putting in pig dogs and ice golems into their CC.
Smart.
Well, if a ground troop does not trigger that CC, those CC troops will never come out.
Oh,
Ever.
really?
They will never come out. And if you can get a super minion blimp in there and somehow those super minions just or the dragons that are coming up behind them destroy the CC before your heroes get within range of the CC, you will destroy the CC and the troops will be destroyed inside of it and they will never see the light of day. It's beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah. Made me wonder if you couldn't like destroy it with a CC with like a bunch of quakes and then the queen's giant arrow.
So maybe so
Probably not,
it
but
used to be you could lightning the CC. So at Town
yeah.
Hall 13, you could destroy the CC just
Oh,
like any other building, any other defensive building with
lightning.
lightnings, which effectively remove the CC troop danger. But then towards the end of Town Hall 13, they changed it to where the CC was actually a storage, and storages are unaffected by spells. So that made it to where you couldn't destroy the CC with lightnings anymore. And I don't know because the CC is pretty high HP building. I don't know that you could get it down enough with Quakes and the
Yeah.
Queen Arrow.
They used
I
to
don't.
just come and take those dark elixir storage, just the zappers
Oh
back in the
yeah,
day.
that's OG days. That was so annoying.
That was so
Freaking
bad.
zappers. I hate it. It happened like 12 times a day. People would
Yeah.
come in on your base, just all their zaps right on your DE storage. Zap, 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 zap,
And
zap. And they
take a
take
bunch.
3,000 DE from you and then just go on to the next base. Like, mother, really?
And then like, and this is the old days too, where you have to, if you broke the shields didn't work the same way. So if you broke your shield to farm, you broke your shield. And
Yep.
so you could get smashed. So if you were really farming and you had a lot of loot, you just didn't want to break your shield unless
No,
you
not
were
at
going
all.
to like farm hardcore. And that's when you'd
So
leave the town hall on the outside
I
and
have a
then
funny story
you
actually.
take them.
So I remember in 2015, I was going on a 3-day cruise, right? I
Oh,
farmed up a ton of loot, had all of my upgrades going. And back then, everything was like, 7, 8, 9 days. I got
yeah.
everything down to where things would be upgraded. Because, on back then on a cruise, you didn't have Wi Fi.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be able to access Clash of Clans for 3 days. So I got all of my stuff to where all my builders were busy. And then I looted like crazy. And then I bought a 3-day shield.
You
I think
had
it
to.
was, yeah. Otherwise, you would come back and it would take you a whole day to fill up your storages
Yeah.
to where you could actually upgrade stuff again.
And the thing that you would didn't want to other people to see is back then, if you saw that there were dead archers and there were
Mm-hmm.
things, those traps had to be
Traps.
refilled. Like
Yep.
you would have to refill them between every raid.
And they cost Dark Elixir to refill.
Yeah, they cost Dark Elixir. They
So
would,
annoying. Oh, I'm
yeah,
so glad they changed that. That's
yeah.
so nice.
There was a,
Although you will still run across spaces that have been dead for a while, and for some reason, there's some time period. If a player does not play, then the Infernos will
yep,
run
I've seen
out
that.
of because it was Dark Elixir to refill the Infernos, and the Expos will be out. The scatter shots will be dead. I don't get that. It's to me, it's either you got to refill them or you don't. I don't understand. Maybe it's 30 days. After 30 days,
Yeah, like
everything dies. I'm
you've
not
been
sure.
gone too long or
Mm.
something. I don't mind it when I see those for sure.
I don't mind it at all either. I'll take
Yeah,
all that elixir and gold and dark elixir. Thank you very much.
there we
I'll fill
go.
my coffers.
Did you know how the worlds are going to play out? By the way, I mean,
So
I
I
might be
haven't done the
jumping
research
topics.
this year, but in the past they've given out golden tickets, and I'm so far removed from the competitive scene now. Like I'm basically just having fun with Clash of Clans.
You're at
Um,
that point in the movie where you've kind of stepped away from
yeah,
the competitive scene, and then they come to you and go, "Tip, we need you."
no, no, no. It takes
No,
so much time. So whenever I did competitive play, like it would take me an hour, and I would be so anxious about every single one of my attacks because especially in like mixed breakdown competitive play, like there may only be 3 town hall 12s. So if one of you messed up, well, that leaves only 2 other people who, or maybe there's only 2 town hall 12s. That leaves only one person that can 3-star it. So you did not want to mess up. So the anxiety was high. The time to plan was super high.
I
Like
would
it's not time that I have these
thrive
days.
in that environment.
You're you should try it. Like
No,
House of Elves should start a mixed breakdown team and
no,
just
that'd be
have fun
fun.
with it.
Uh, so I think this one was like you get 7 days to do your attacks, from what I read in the rules. It
So
was
I think
little bit different than because you had said that you had to be available on a certain day.
so, and I could be wrong on this, but the way that they've done it in the past is they give out golden tickets, and there were I think it was 6 golden tickets that were given out through these matches that Supercell would set up in game. Like you compete against other clans in game, and then there were these outside tournaments that you could enter. And I don't know off the top of my head what those tournaments are. Maybe Champions War League, for example. I don't know that I don't think that they were actually. But if you won the Champions War League in a 5v5 10 hall 16 match, the winner of Champions War League got a golden ticket to go to Worlds, which was in November or whenever. So the way that I think it's set up is they will give you a time and you have to be in a specific clan and you have to be ready to war from like 2 p.m. to 2:45 p.m. on Tuesday, next Tuesday, and you have to have your 5 players in the clan and ready, and you have to press the button. And then you press the button, and then the 5 players on the other side, you essentially do a friendly war against each other. And then Supercell's there, and they record the result of that 5v5 war.
So this is what it says. When a match is created, a war will automatically be initiated between two clans. After the war is completed, the results of the war will automatically be recorded.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. Like, you can expect any, and like I said, like I'm so far removed from the competitive scene.
Yeah, it must
I'm
be
not
that.
exactly sure.
I thought that you had a week. And honestly, it was really hard to find information on this as I'm kind of looking through things and trying to read the rules.
Right.
It looks like to me you register 6 people, and I think only 5. One's an alternate.
Mhm.
And then it said that teams have 1 week to do a match. I thought,
Maybe it's they are given the opponent and they have to reach out and contact the opponent and set up a time for them to do that match. That could be the case as well.
yeah.
Because that's how it works with competitive matches. So I ran a 5v5 competitive team at Town Hall 14, and man, it was hell. Like
Oh man, I
you would
bet.
enter this league and then you would be talking to somebody maybe from Germany or somebody from India or somebody from Bangladesh, and this is a an Indian team, for example. Well, the problem with that is they are what 12 hours ahead of us.
Oh, I think.
So if you wanted to war at 8 p.m. at night, well, that's 8 a.m. their time. They may all have to go to work at 8 a.m. So you can't do it at 8 p.m. your time. Well, you can't do it at maybe 6 p.m. your time because that's 6 a.m. their time. And maybe, they're all in bed at 6 a.m. Okay, well, they want to do it at 10 a.m. their time on a Saturday. Well, that's 10 p.m. our time. So and it was interesting.
And I wonder if it's
It
a
was
little bit of
frustrating.
like of open qualifiers, or if they're a little bit different. I thought it maybe had a little bit more of a handle on this.
Maybe
Teams
I'm not sure how it's
open
set up.
qualifier. Teams competing in the open qualifier are required to register a roster of at least 5 players during the registration period. Teams may choose to register a 6th player that will be eligible to participate in the open qualifier, but will not be eligible to participate in any other stage of the competition. Once the final lineup of 5 players has been chosen, the team lineup will
Needless to say,
yeah.
we
I don't know.
will probably not make it past the first round.
Yeah, and I don't know if we'll be able to actually field a team
Yeah.
because
So
of the amount of 16s. But it
if I
seemed like it's something that goes on every 30 days, and maybe it's
yep,
just.
every month it'll be for the next 6 months, I would say, so that they can determine.
So if we don't get in now, we don't have a shot.
No, I think you can get in any month.
Oh, okay.
I think you can get in any month. But so I heard the announcement that last year they did 8 teams at Clash Worlds. This
Oh,
year they're only taking 6 teams to Clash Worlds,
yeah.
which would make sense. Also mean if that's the case, that also means they're not supporting any community organized tournaments. They're only going with these in-game championship qualifiers for the next 6 months to determine the 6 teams that are going to be going to Worlds. And I could be completely off on that. I'm speaking on my butt right
So
now.
what does that mean then? Like the people that we're used to seeing wouldn't see?
No, I mean, I can imagine that
It's just like
the
people from
teams,
wherever.
well, people from wherever can enter, but I imagine the teams, for instance, who won last year, like let's say Tribe Gaming is a well-known esports program. Tribe Gaming is going to enter if they don't win the first month, whoever wins the first month already has their ticket to Worlds. So they're
Oh,
not going to play anymore.
oh,
Well,
okay.
Tribe Gaming doesn't win the second month because another team wins. Well, then they enter the third month, and then they win the third month, and then they're on their way to Worlds.
Okay. That makes sense. A lot of the stuff I was finding was like from last year, the year before.
I think yeah, and I think it's a little different. But actually, that brings up an interesting topic. Clash of Clans is talking about introducing a pro mode, and I'm not sure if you've heard of this or not.
Well,
But
I
right
didn't get the
now,
invite, if that's what you're asking.
me neither. But I'm curious your response to it because right now pro players are saying that Clash of Clans is too easy. And honestly, if you watch some of their attacks, Holy cow. There's a player who destroyed a Town Hall 16 in 57 seconds, I think, or 58 seconds. Destroyed a whole Town Hall 16 in 58 seconds.
Holy crap.
Like that's how good these players are. And they're saying it's not hard enough. So what they're talking about introducing is a pro mode where that could be implemented in several ways. That could make all buildings on the map automatically in pro mode get 10% more hit points, or all defenses on the map have 10% higher DPS than in regular, or both. So buildings have 10% higher hit points and 10% higher DPS, which would make it harder. I mean, because defenses are stronger, buildings take longer to knock down, which would make it more of a challenge, which is kind of what the pro players want. My fear of that is that you're going to have this gulf between the casual player and the pro player. And one of the reasons why Clash of Clans, in my opinion, is so popular right now is because as a regular player, I can look at a pro attack and I can be like, oh, that's a great idea. I can try that. But if they're attacking, essentially with a completely different army, I mean, granted, they're using the same troops, but those troops are not doing the same damage. They're not doing the same hit rate that my troops are doing. My troops are doing more. So they're not going to work the same. So therefore, why would I even bother watching other than purely interest? I mean, I guess it could kind of be
I see what
like,
you're saying. Yeah,
if I want to watch NBA basketball players, that's cool, that's interesting, but they're so much better than me. But the question is having the NBA, does that make me want to play basketball more? And honestly, no, it doesn't. If you look at a game like Clash of Clans, you have the pros. If you separate them, such as the NBA is separated from the average basketball player, you will have people who are interested in that. They're interested in watching the pros play. But now that there's a gulf between them, that's not going to incentivize the average player to want to play more.
So
am I making it?
Yeah, I totally get it. And so what I'm wondering is the pro mode, is it speculation about what it would look like? Like when you're saying
it's
like
totally speculation right now. They have not instituted, but they have talked about doing it possibly, which is interesting.
Here's how I would like it. And I was just actually going to look at your message because I kind of had missed it earlier, but it was like the message you sent me about the troop restrictions. I think that would be a good pro mode. That if promo that doesn't add anything, but that says if you get to X level of competition, the war can be either like agreed on, either restrictions, right? Like I think you could do it with just taking away or saying, no siege machines or only siege machines. Or you know what I mean? I could see it going that way where you could, because like what were some of the, is that okay if I share?
Yeah.
There's anything like
no.
TH9,
So
no witch, super witch, dragon, super dragon. You want to explain what this was?
Yeah, so in 14 Mutineers, we do a friendly war every month, and in that friendly war this month, we did restrictions. So at Town Hall 9, and I don't have a list in front of me, but it was like no witches, no dragons,
super dragon.
At Town Hall 10, no siege machine, 11, no siege machine,
super dragon,
no super. So, and the reason that they're restricting those is because it's almost too easy to 3-star with those troops at the level that our clan family is at. And so in order to make it more interesting, for example, root riders were banned at Town Hall 16. So we had to look at the base and say, how am I going to hit this if I can't use root riders? Now, Supercell will never do that, in my opinion. They will never just ban a troop from not being allowed at Worlds because they want the entire troop base to be available for their players, and they don't want a player to be like, oh, well, if that troop's too powerful, then why don't you just nerf it in the first place? Like, why ban it from the pros? I think it's more likely that they're going to create this division of plus 10% DPS or plus 10% HP rather
just
than
like
banning
an overall
troops.
Well, I guess that could work too. Like, okay, you go to a championship, you got to be able to and I think that's kind of where I was thinking, like, just in general, like taking away, or I mean, they could just take away damage, instead of increasing it. Say like, okay,
Yeah.
you're playing in this mode and we're going to restrict this. And so, and it's based on the most current balance of the game or something.
Yeah.
I don't
So
know.
let's take the Root Rider, for example. So the Root Rider just got a nerf, which we talked about a little bit in text. It was nerfed down to 7,000 hit points. But if you look at the comparison, a Golem is 9,200 hit points at max.
Holy Nike.
But but a Golem is 30 troop space. So you would think, okay, it's 30 troop space. So of course it's going to be more troop space. It's of course it's going to be higher hit points, right?
Yeah.
If you look at a Root Rider is only 20 troop space, but it also has 7,000 HP. If you look at the HP difference and you looked at really balancing those two troops, if a Root Rider, it's 2/3 of the troop space. It's 20 troop space versus 30 troop space. So you would think that it would be 2/3 of the hit points. But instead, it's not 2/3 of the hit points, because 2/3 of the hit points would be 6,072 HP. But currently, the Root Rider is at 7,000 HP, which means essentially it's 928 HP over what it should be if you're comparing it to the Golem. So is it OP? I mean, granted, the Golem has a little bit different ability. It breaks up into 3 little Golems, but also the Root Rider's ability is it can freaking go through walls. Like, that's its special ability. So why would you make the Root Rider so much higher in HP when comparing it to the Golem, when it's only 2/3 of the troop space? And whenever Root Riders were first introduced, they were 8,000 HP. 8,000 HP when a Golem was 9,200 and 10 more troop space. So of course this troop was going to be overpowered, because it freaking goes. Can you imagine a Golem going through walls?
That's a Doomworm that totally took over the planet.
But so anyway, I don't think that they'll take away troops.
How do you really feel about
the Root Rider?
The Root Rider.
Well, I mean, so they nerfed it, and I'm a little just barely above an average player. I got plus 300 in Legend League today, and a player like me should not be getting 7 3-stars on a Legend League day. Like, I'm not a good enough player for that to be happening. They nerfed Root Riders, and yet for some reason I'm still able to triple with them consistently. I don't know. I'm not sure what they'll do, and I know this conversation is kind of taking a path in a little bit different direction you probably wanted it to.
No,
it's just interesting.
Yeah, I'm jealous that I don't get to use them, for one thing.
They're OP. They're definitely OP.
Well,
they're amazing. They're easy to use. They're so easy to use.
So I mean, why do you think they are the way they are then? Like, because they get introduced, people just not use them?
No, people started using them immediately. So my theory, and I think it's a pretty strong theory, is Town Hall 15 was ridiculously hard. The 3-star rate was in the dumps, like horrible. And so Supercell said, okay, well, we're going to make it easier for you to 3-star, because when the player, as we said, it feels good to 3-star, and they know that they have to focus on the casual player. They can't completely focus on the pro scene, even though the pros are complaining, oh, it's too easy, the meta's too easy. They want the casual player to enjoy the game, and as a result of them enjoying the game, they're going to buy the gold pass. They're going to buy event passes. They're going to upgrade their heroes, and they're going to gem their heroes whenever war comes. So they want to make it enjoyable for the casual player. And in my opinion, that's the reason that they introduced the Root Riders at an OP HP level, and have been kind of reluctant to lower it down to the level where it needs to be. Because in my opinion, if you compare it to the Golem, it needs to be at max 6,500 hit points, and currently it's at 7,000. So, but that's just my opinion.
You think that's where it balance?
I think it would be. I think 6,500 would probably be about right, in my opinion.
Is there another time that you can remember where this has happened with something similar?
Yes. Super Dragons at Town Hall 14.
We talked about that, didn't we?
Yep. Maybe. So Super Dragons were very similar. They were not this overpowered. they were not this easy to use, but players were still tripling left and right with Super Dragons. And essentially, and this is what I think Supercell is going to do Root Riders as well. Essentially, what Supercell did was they waited until I think August or September before giving them the final nerf to where players weren't using them everywhere to 3-star easily. And that was about 2 months before Worlds, which gave players 2 months, to practice with other armies, to use other troops. But that gave players who were having fun with them and who enjoyed 3-starring a good 9 months overall with Super Dragons being
A little
OP.
dopamine boost.
Exactly. And I think that's exactly it. I think Supercell wants the casual player to have a dopamine boost. And yes, they're going to have all of this complaining from the pro scene that it's too easy, that we can destroy a Town Hall 16 base in 58 seconds. But for the casual player, for the average Joe, it's a lot easier to 3-star and it's a lot more fun to play because we can 3-star every now and again.
The only thing that is a little strange to me is that it's something that affects the higher level player, and not that it's not something that is like benefiting Town Hall 11s, 12s, and 13s or 9s or 8s. You know what I mean? Like
only
other
15 and 16. Yeah.
Yeah. So that it's a problem impacting, up there. And same with the equipment, the stuff up on that end of the game.
Yep.
I could see him less likely to balance it if it was across all town halls.
Yeah,
but it is a funny situation.
In that video, the miner, what do we call it? I forgot what you called it. The ore miner, the master miner.
Was that
in
what
that
it was?
video?
I keep forgetting.
I showed the breakdown of town halls and how the majority of players at 11, 12, and 13. I mean, it's something like 60 or 70% of players are 11, 12, and 13. I think it was only 18% of players are at Town Hall 16.
Yeah.
That number could be high. I don't remember the number off the top of my head.
No, that's what it was. It was something very similar. And I was really curious too, because I thought, as you started showing that graph, I'm like, yeah, that makes, I'm really curious as to what like the podcast listeners, where the majority of town halls just overall in Clash is really super interesting. But that it would be, these are higher town hall level problems.
Right. Yeah. Which only affects a not very small percentage of the player base, but literally less than a fifth of the player base this affects in any way. And then on top of that, the pro scene on top of that is less than 1%. Like less than 1% of Town Hall 16s are doing it competitively, other than in regular clan wars and CWL. So it's an interesting problem. And it brings up the pro mode question. Like, do they enter a pro mode? Do they risk creating this gulf between the pro player and the regular player? Because, when Clash with Eric, for example, streams, these matches between these pro teams, are players going to look at that? And I don't know. Are players going to look at that and be like, well, this is stupid because that's pro mode.
Well, that's why I think like it would be interesting if it was like how you guys have your things, where because Supercell to me kind of seems to emulate what is happening outside of the game naturally. Like so because people are setting up tournaments with these types of restrictions, or they're these types of things using what's already there.
Yeah.
It would make more sense to just take certain things, or just to enable the mode for like that matchup. Like, okay, you go through and you check out, the things, or it's the tournament that's the Super Dragon tournament. Everybody has to use this or something, because
I think that would be cool.
Yeah. And then you have it where you're like, okay, there's an element of that's out of your control that you're forced to adapt and use something, but that other players could also go back in their clans and repeat the same type of things, just like you're doing.
Well, what's interesting is, so number one, community tournaments that are just run by the community done free. They're not paid. They're not sponsored by Supercell. That is how they have responded. So at Town Hall 9, if you do a Town Hall 9 tournament, automatically witches are banned. Like you cannot use witches in any competitive Town Hall 9 tournament run by the community because they're way too OP for that Town Hall level. So
and then you could cut that out with like the root, but this kind of reminds me in I've been traveling through time now, keep in mind, but friendly wars, there's a time where you could not match up. And in fact, in uploading the episodes, I'm just about to upload the ones, the L War and Zod War. And you would have to press the button at the same time. And the community organized to create amazing spreadsheets with weights and figured out the math of it. And it's not like Supercell said, hey, here's the math on the matchmaking, as far as I could tell, especially right away.
Developed. Yeah.
And they were trying to do that. And then in the end, because that's what that's a huge amount of time that people put into that.
Right.
Then they enabled it as a function so to me, that would be like a logical pro mode where they could do like tournament things like that and then change it up and make it challenging. Okay. Now this is like no
root riders.
No root riders.
Yeah.
Or you have to use at least one of this.
Yeah.
Or it's just like no fireball tournament, with hero equipment, or you can only use original hero equipment,
and I think that's a better answer. Like 100%. I think that's a better answer. But from my understanding, Supercell has been very reluctant to ban any troops in their own game, because if they ban the troops from being used at the pro level or world championships, they're essentially admitting that this troop is broken by doing that.
Well, I think where I'm thinking about it is to say it is completely customizable into like an agreed upon, like you can uncheck any troop.
Oh yeah.
Or you could uncheck, so that way it's not banning any particular thing, but that way people who are doing those matches could come together and go like, all right, yeah, let's agree, or here are these particular rules for this tournament.
Mm-hmm.
And people could do it on their own.
Yeah, and I think that's coming. Like that's already been talked about for friendly wars, because you can already choose, for instance, what time period you want the friendly war to last. It can be 30 minutes if you want it to be
1800s.
1800s?
Just kidding.
What?
No, I said like
you're
1800s.
We're talking about time machines going back. It's just so funny. Like the DeLorean has appeared.
There's like horse and buggies.
Oh my gosh! But I would love for them to do that. Like I don't know. I don't know the answer. I don't know that a pro mode and adding HP and DPS is going to be good for the game overall. But I do think if they said in these world championship matches, no root riders, just period, no root riders, that would have an interesting effect too, because players, like back when I was doing competitive, like I watched a ton of streams. I would watch Clash with Eric all the time. And I would learn how to attack from the pro attackers. And if the pro attackers are using hybrid, for example, miners and hogs, well, I'm like, oh man, like that looked like it worked really well. Let me do that. So if root riders are banned at the pro level and all these and we're watching that, then more players are going to be like, oh, well, the pros are using hybrid. Let me try to use hybrid. And they're going to see an automatic rebalancing in the community as a result of that as well. So
or even you had to shake at the beginning and there were only certain troops that were going to be picked that could be used, where you really test skill of people, because it's not, you can't use the same attack necessarily. It's like, how are you going to,
well, like we're going to roll the dice. And then, if a 2 and a 3 and a 4 are rolled, then you get to use, like balloons.
The teams go up and then like your, roster of available troops gets drawn and it's like and then the match starts in like 15 minutes and then boom.
Yeah, I think that would be awesome. I think that would be cool. That would be fun to watch. It would be exciting. It would keep the average community clasher interested, because then we get to see okay, so the three troops that are being used are giants, wall breakers, and archers.
Yeah.
And of course, you have your heroes. Okay, how in the world is a pro player, and everybody has to use these troops for their attack, and how in the world is a pro player going to 3-star base with just giants and archers and wall breakers? Like, how in the world are they going to do that? That would make it more interesting for us as well as viewers.
Or like you have kind of like those challenge maps, or on that screen that you go through and you do the challenge raid, and they might have 10 inferno towers. So imagine like in pro mode, you start up with everybody hits the same base.
So
and each team's amount of percentage contributes. I mean, you could do like different modes of winning too.
I think a really cool mode in the game, and something that I think would be better for pros as well, is, I'm not sure if you played Boom Beach, and I think we talked about this before, but where there's a mega
right
base,
in the early days,
and there's a mega base that base builders can build, and maybe there are 10 or 15 or 20 Inferno towers on there, and as a team of 5, you have to figure out how to get this base down. Okay, so you're going to take out this section with Lalo.
That would be so cool.
I'm going to take out this section, with Yeti Smash. I'm going to, and you have to coordinate your attack. And maybe they can make that
a mega map.
That would give base builders too so many tools that they could use, because they wouldn't have to keep, all the black air mines in one. They wouldn't have to keep it.
I've been working on those
them up in another. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
And then we could watch that as a viewer in the Clash World Championships. How does this team work together to take, and then also that does away with timers. Like you can you can
think it's later, Supercell.
Granted, you would have to have hits within a certain time period, I guess. Like, okay, your first player has to go it, like you have
all 5 at the same time.
Or I don't know that they could do that server wise.
That's true, but
that would be awesome as well if you required all 5 players to hit at the exact same time.
It'd be kind of cool if they did that. Oh, I suppose, like kind of like the raid map, like the clan games or the clan capital.
The clan capital, and that's what a lot of people thought that the clan capital was going to be.
Yeah,
was that we would be able to hit it at the same time, but it's not. It's not what it ended up being.
But I mean, like, being able to do that with the home village, with the clan. Okay, we got a major village, or the epic thing designed by Supercell. Even that's like, okay, nobody's seen this before, one of a kind, tested, for like a world final.
And I think one of their main concerns is the revenue. Like, how are they going to make that a revenue source? But I think if you have players that want to like have this 5v5 match, they're going to want their buildings to be upgraded as quickly as possible, so that way they can do better in these matches. So I would think that it would be going back to the older model of Clash, where you're gymming, your Inferno Towers finished, kind of a thing. But I don't know.
Well, yeah, I think anything that engages the player, makes it interesting, makes me want to look at a YouTube video, makes me want to tune in to what's going on. Oh, what happened this week? I don't really look at those world championship things because it's kind of been the same thing. It seems like to me, since I was. And it's like, oh, wow, okay, what's something brand new? Oh, this was what they weren't able to do, or something that was kind of a unique maybe it is the promo that kind of inspires, like, here's the regular game, you practice and you're doing all these things, and then you can put it into these monthly things, kind of like CWL. I don't know. There is a lot of stuff going on. And I'm happy about that, though. Like, because like CWL is starting, and really excited. I've been kind of finishing off things, and I've been doing it. And I know I've been talking about it every week, but even this week, I'm coming down to it, and I'm thinking, oh, I got 3 more days, 2 more days.
Mm-hmm.
What are the things I can slide in
Yep.
in
Finish up my
priority.
heroes. Get
Yeah.
that troop upgrade finished.
Oh,
Yep.
look, I'll get the spring trap done. I'll get this. And
Yep.
just this kind of like once a month, like let me prepare for something, put on my Sunday best, um, get dressed up, and then hugely disappoint my clan.
You're no, not at
No,
all.
just kidding. I'm just, just kidding. No, it's I don't know what to expect, because like our matchups are been a little bit skewed, but
Mhm.
I'm definitely in a better spot for it. Definitely thinking about things different. And so I thought that was there's been a lot of good changes like that. And if you got back in the DeLorean with me and we went back, anybody who wasn't playing, um, it, back then there wasn't events
Right.
like for
There was nothing.
nothing. And it was the game
Yeah.
and doing that. But even with the podcast, I've been putting up all these old episodes, and I will soon be at a point where I will have the entire order, but it's like reconstructing and finding
Mhm.
tons of episodes. Um, it was episode 40 before before war even started.
Mhm.
And that was like over a year of the podcast before war.
Mm.
And so as they introduce these kind of new things, it just becomes like a new game. Um, and so so having these things, I should say, makes it way more fun and a lot more like a little bit more community based. Like,
Yeah.
hey, everybody's doing it at the same time. Something to look forward to every month. Kind of there's something new and exciting coming out, even if it isn't a major update. Which that's kind of a cool way to solve a problem. Is like, you know, always wanting new and exciting things. Okay, let's give themes and stuff like that, and so we don't have to come out with the eagle.
Right.
Maybe if there were events, the eagle would
Yeah, it's a way to keep
happen.
players interested. I mean, that's a great point. They don't have to introduce a new defense because, we're interested in this new event or whatever. Although, let's just be honest, I'm very thankful that they decided to wait to introduce another piece of hero equipment personally. Just because I would
Yeah,
like the chance to at least catch up a little bit and get a breath.
yeah.
So my giant gauntlet is at level 23, stuck because I don't
Holy
have glowy
crap!
ore. My everything else, my hog pocket is at level 17. Again, stuck. Like I can't get it to level 18 because I don't have enough glowy ore. But once those two are max, well, then I can really start focusing on, the Warden's Fireball. I can start focusing on the Haste Vial. I can start focusing on the Frozen Arrow. Like I haven't even bothered with the
So
Frozen Arrow.
what's your hero equipment at right now?
So my haste, I'm sorry, not my haste vial. My rage vial on the king is max at 18. Giant gauntlets at 23. 27 is max. My queen is maxed out. The invisibility vial and the healer puppet. My warden, I have 2 pieces maxed out. I'm sorry, 3 pieces. I have my eternal tome and the life gem and the healing tome maxed out, but my rage gem is
Oh,
not maxed out yet. And then on my RC, my hog pocket's at 17 and my life, not life gem, royal gem is maxed out. But also you have to remember all of those started at level 15 because my
oh,
heroes were max whenever or close to max
oh
whenever
yeah.
equipment came out. So
Okay,
I only
that's
had to
right.
upgrade 3 levels on some of those.
Um, so when I drop this um new town hall after I get my CC done, my Nikes. I forgot about okay, I need the hero equipment and I'm gonna need what's the other one I'm gonna have to do right away? I just completely forgot about
So you will get the hog pocket.
right as soon as I hit it.
Well, you have to upgrade your blacksmith,
Damn it.
but it's gonna be low
5 days.
level. And so I know that I poo pooed all over the shield in my the shield is trash video, but the shield is a level. I had a level 15 shield. I don't know what yours is at, but let's say it's level 12. A level 12 shield is going to be better than even, I would say, a level 9 Hog Pocket. Like once it reaches level 9, I would say that it competes with the shield at 12.
I threw my shield away. I don't even have it on my inventory
You
anymore.
threw it in the trash. It's not even an option anymore.
Not even an option.
Oh,
I deleted
you
it.
told me to throw it in the trash.
You told
so
me
I
to
did.
throw it away.
Ah.
Oh shit.
Go follow the dump truck as it's going to the dump and fish it out of the
trash. Well, I should just be dumping this hero equipment, it turns out. Okay, so when I get there, I'm going Hog Pocket and I'm dropping the shield, right?
I wouldn't drop the shield until your Hog Pocket gets to maybe level 10.
I'll get that up
9 or 10.
I'm not going to upgrade anything except for I'm getting really close on my, what's that, starry or glowy ore.
Right.
I'm getting kind of a little high on there, but I think because I only have a few days, I should be all right. And then I should be able to take it up because I should be able to get it up pretty far because I'm not going to spend what I've got right now.
So the only negative about that is if you focus all of your ore on the Hog Pocket, you are sacrificing ore that could have gone to other pieces to max them out. So you have to weigh the pros and cons of that.
Here, well, this is what I'm kind of, listen, if I know nothing, it's as soon as I take something to the high level, something better.
Supercell nerfs it.
Supercell nerfs it, or they introduce something that just doesn't work with it.
Yeah.
It always happens like right when I do it.
Yeah. And in the rocket, whatever that the RC is going to get, maybe I've thought too, like maybe that's going to pair with the Seeking Shield somehow.
Yeah.
And if it does, and it makes a Seeking Shield amazing, that could be the case. We don't know. We don't know what Supercell has planned.
So if I was any normal human being player, I would probably do what you're doing, but
that's a big but.
No,
they do not lie.
But because this baby got some back, I am just doing I've been kind of going across the board. And so I've got everything like 10, 11, 11, 12, 11, 12, 10, 10.
Yep.
Because when we first talked, I said 8, good baseline. Then I was able to like, when something comes out, I can usually get it up to 8 or 9 right away.
Right.
But I just, given my position in the game and track record, I feel like it's better to be, and you know the real quote of this, if you've heard the quote, jack of all trades, master of none.
Right.
But the real quote is jack of all trades, master of none is still better than master of one.
This is true. This is true.
That is my approach with my hero equipment.
Yeah, that works. And
as soon as I do my fireball, they're gonna come around, they're gonna nerf it, or more likely they're gonna go, okay, that doesn't work well with the eternal tome now. Or if you want the tome and then this, it's because that seems like with the fireball right now, like how can you really go without the eternal tome?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point. It's some instances it does. So the fireball pairs with the rage gem.
Do you always use the eternal tome?
So my fireball on my main, I just upgraded to level 7. And so I've only used it once, and that was just because I was doing a super archer blimp, and because my warden was going to be wasted because I was toming in the blimp into a certain part of the base. But with any of my other attacks, yes, Eternal Tome is the most OP piece of equipment in the game, unless you're doing an attack like with Super Witches, for example, where the Super Witches don't need the Eternal Tome necessarily. The Rage Gem will keep those healers that come from your Warden Walk. The healers will pass onto the Super Witches, and because they're underneath that Rage Gem, they keep the Super Witches topped off. So therefore, you don't need the Eternal Tome in that instance, which is what makes the Warden's Fireball so amazing because you can take out a huge chunk of the base or a big defense whenever you use it.
And I've seen that thing fly too. It made me wonder, like not next to the warden, like across the base.
It's amazing. Yeah.
Made me think about like the overgrowth and how you could really, if you're stuck and your warden's over and you miss the town hall, you could do some overgrowth and get that
Make it
thing.
targeted.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
saw that Royal Champion do that too. Like
Yeah.
I didn't realize her spear would, if you there's what is it, four things or three defenses, four defenses.
Yeah. So the town hall's a defense, so the RC will target it if it's the next in line, if it's the next defense in line. So yeah, if
But
you
I saw that
overgrowth,
thing.
but I saw your attack, you overgrowth the sides, and that automatically took the RC's focus from those defenses on the sides and zeroed her in on the next defense, which was the town hall.
But I've seen it in attacks where like it's down and she's got two defenses over there, and then that thing shoots across the base.
Oh yeah, the Seeking Shield.
Yeah,
Yep. Yep.
I
Then
had no idea about that.
that's a huge positive with the Seeking Shield. And I mean, then that's a point that was made is the Seeking Shield does immediate damage whenever, for instance, you're using the Hog Pocket, those hogs, like it takes them time. They have to go slowly from defense to defense to defense to do their damage. Now, granted, if you pop the Hog Pocket ability in the right place, those hogs can do more damage than the Seeking Shield, but the Seeking Shield is not to be discarded, not to be considered,
Well,
because that
I wish you would
instant
have told me that
damage.
before I threw it away.
You really, I'm just a jerk. I'm an idiot.
Is it? So would you go with, so here I'm sitting, right?
Right.
And I've got enough to put a level on. Would should I hold for my hog, or should I keep getting stuck on like Vamp Stash, Rage Vial, the things that I use. What are the ones I'm going to use constantly?
So now that you're going to Town Hall 14, the Vamp stashes, positives, benefits start going down. So the Vamp stash is really good Town Hall 13 and below. So now
Okay.
starting at Town Hall 14, the Giant Gauntlet starts becoming really valuable because of its smash capability and because you're typically sending your king in the base when maybe at lower town halls you're sending the king around the base. So depending
Okay.
on what your giant, I mean, if your giant gauntlet's level 1, then just discard this
What's
advice.
eight?
But I would recommend, if you're going to focus on the most powerful pieces from Town Hall 14 to Town Hall 16, it would be the Rage Vial and the Giant Gauntlet on your king.
Okay.
On the queen, it would be the Invisibility Vial.
Yep.
And I like the Healer Puppet.
Me too.
So Invisibility Vial and the Healer Puppet. On the Warden, this is a little depending on what attacks and knowing your attacks. The Eternal Tome, number 1, definitely.
The Book of Regrets.
And you're gonna have to make a choice because the other 3 are great. So you have the Rage Gem, you have the Healing Tome, and you have the Life Gem, and all of 3 of those are great. But pick one
What about
and
the
go
Book of
with it.
Regrets?
You're it's available in the shop. I totally missed that one. And then with the RC, I would just stick with the shield and the Royal Gem for a while, and then kind of slowly upgrade your Hog Pocket. And then once the Hog Pocket reaches close to the level that your Seeking Shield is at, then replace it.
Should I? Okay. Knowing my, okay, got that advice. Now, my heroes, my king is 57,
Mm-hmm.
queen is 73, warden is 34, 17 on the RC.
Mm-hmm.
RC, my plan for the RC, she's going to be upgrading indefinitely, like I was going to, but like I stopped. So I've got a mid-level warden and a mid to upper king.
Mm-hmm.
Which heroes' abilities does it make most sense to focus on? Knowing that.
So the beautiful thing about hero equipment, whether it's beautiful or not, is that the equipment is totally separate from the levels of your hero. So you could have a level 1 king potentially and a max giant gauntlet and a max rage vial on that
Yep.
level 1 king.
But
So
would you think it's better to prioritize because my warden is lower than say the queen, right? Like
oh,
the
I see your point. I see your point. Yeah, I would probably focus on the queen if I were you, just because your queen is higher. She's going to do more damage. I would probably focus on the
so
invisibility vial and the healer puppet.
so go for the strongest and not use it to overcompensate or to
Yeah,
compensate for the
I mean,
warden.
I've always been of the opinion that you should upgrade your equipment equally across the board, but that
Okay.
doesn't change the fact that some pieces get stuck at every 3 levels. So at level 12, you have to have a certain amount of glowy ore in order to, or level 11 to get up to level 12. So what I have been doing is I've been jumping up 2 levels on my queen's equipment, and then I don't have enough glowy ore anyway, so I use my shiny ore to jump up 2 levels on my king and on my warden and on my RC. And then once I get enough glowy ore, well, then I take my queen to 12, and then slowly my other pieces catch up.
So,
That's what I've been doing.
and it was level 15 that the queen gets the third healer, right? I think it
Yes, yeah,
was.
correct. At
Okay.
15, that's a
Um,
super important number to get to.
and I looked at the fireball too. It doesn't look like you really get incremental benefits,
Hmm.
but it doesn't really look like you get something
There's not a big jump.
amazing. Yeah,
No.
for
Mm-mm.
so I kind of felt like with that one, I'm like, okay, that one I can keep putting on a little bit. And as I notice, especially like because sometimes it goes for the win, like it'll
Yeah.
takes and you can see like, oh, on these, it's just taking almost all of it off.
Yeah.
Then I'll kind of put those on. But that's been my real struggle is like, my queen's the strongest. Do I focus then on the abilities of the others because but maybe it's strengthen the strongest and go from there.
Yeah. I mean, you can focus on your queen first, but don't let the others lag too far behind.
Yeah, and they're up there. And like I said, the gauntlets at 8, my rage vials at 11, invisibility 11, healer puppet 12,
Hmm.
11 on the tome, 12 on the fireball, 10 and 10 on the. So I'm doing all right.
Yeah. Just keep
But
working.
yeah, I kind of want to get that third healer, like anything that gives me more troops, like
Yeah.
the hog pocket.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Um, you saw my attacks with the apprentice warden.
Hmm.
What am I? What am I doing right with the apprentice warden? What am I doing wrong?
So typically your apprentice warden is used with the bulk of your troops, not with the funneling troops.
Okay.
Typically. And if you think about it um
It's like,
from what it does, so it anything that's within its aura, the troops' health is buffed
yeah.
by 20% or something like that. So if you're using it with your funneling troops, well, that's only 2 or 3 troops that their health is getting buffed before the apprentice warden dies. But if you have your super bowlers, for example, and you put an apprentice warden in behind your super bowlers, well, that's 90 troop space if you have 3 of them,
Okay.
or 120 troop space rather than just the 36 troop space of 2 Yetis that are, doing your funnel on one side. So I would put the apprentice warden with whatever the main crux of your troop is,
So
and that will help them live a little bit longer.
what's the typical number you bring with something like that?
So I will bring my apprentice warden with my super bowlers sometimes.
It's just not worth it, or
So I will always bring an apprentice warden with my root rider attacks, but that's also because I have 10 root riders. So it's
yeah.
buffing the 10 root riders, or it's like the warden where it stays with the biggest pack of troops, but it's buffing all of their health at one time. But other than that, I don't use the apprentice warden a lot typically.
Okay.
And I don't know that I don't think it works with flying troops either. It's a ground-based troop. It's not a flying troop. So therefore I typically only use it with ground-based armies as well.
It is only I think Maximus has been using it as a flying.
Yeah, I don't it might buff. So the problem with that, so it probably does. And
Oh, it
I'm
does.
speaking to
No,
my
I
butt. But the problem is if
target
you're using it
scrum
with
in.
dragons, for example, the dragons are catching all of the air traps,
Oh
and your
yeah.
apprentice ward is being drug on the ground and goes through every single ground trap because it's a
Oh.
ground-based troop. So it's going to
Oh
die
yeah, you
super
were
quick
talking kind of
anyway.
about that with the things. We're gonna have to look that. Target's ground and air, but
Yeah, but it's a ground-based troop, so it's not really good with flying troops because you're going to go through all the giant bombs. You're going to go through all of the,
yeah,
so
I've kept
and
that in mind with the some of the flying troops, but I have been using those super minions in part for cleanup and in part to help clear the traps
mm-hmm.
for will they set off there?
So they don't set off SAMs. They don't set off black mines. The minions don't. The super minions might. They might be heavy enough to where they do. I don't know. But I know
Okay, I better double check on that.
regular minions will set off red bombs, but they will not set off black mines.
Yeah, and I was using the super minions hopefully to set. I got to double check on some of these. There's nothing for certain anymore.
We're all learning. We're all learning.
I did have a question for you.
Yeah.
What troop do you think is the most underrated?
Underrated. I would have to say, I don't know. It depends on what town hall level
Just
you're
kind of
talking
spring
about
that on
too.
you. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. It was just one of the questions. What or like people aren't using enough.
I mean, Valks have come back in the meta, so people are using them, but I feel like it was underrated for a long time because it can do a lot. It's really
Yeah,
versatile.
I've
So
been
maybe
getting
the
mine.
Valk.
Okay. What is your social? No, I'm just kidding.
1, 2, 3, 4,
Yeah.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
I suppose we could probably wrap up here and do some shout outs. What do you got? I got House of L has been very busy this week.
Yeah. And I did want to shout out K Mac. It was so funny. I don't know if you noticed in chat,
The four
something
different
happened.
joins.
Yeah, so something happened to where K Mac joined the clan like 5 times in a row. And I don't it was a freak. Like it was just a coding issue, but it was K Mac has requested to join, and then Maximus accepted
Except
him,
it,
and then it repeated that
yeah,
5 times. K Mac
it's like,
requested to join. Maximus accepted him. And I was
yeah,
like, who in the hell is
somebody's
K Mac? Why is he getting
spamming.
accepted 5 times?
Yeah.
But that was hilarious. So shout out to K Mac. That was awesome.
Yeah,
I loved it.
shout out to K-Mac. Shout out to Elvis who
Mm-hmm.
came in. I'm kind of looking over here
Popped in and did a
from
war.
the Juicy BC, Good Cop,
Mm-hmm.
Bad Cop.
Yep.
And we got a couple. I'm trying to look here at the war details just to see, make sure I'm not
We have the not Itachi,
the not
who has,
Itachi.
it's not our Itachi, but it's Itachi Uchicha, who has fit into our family pretty well, I feel like.
Yeah, I feel like too.
Yeah.
Shout out to him and Blunder. I kind of
Mm-hmm.
forgot those two on the
Moo,
podcast. And
not
Moo
Moo.
just came in.
Yeah. Moo just joined. Yeah.
There, there's a bunch. I know I'm forgetting every time right afterwards. I remember. Um, Gwen, who's there's some really good attacks
Yep.
in that last war.
Yep.
Just
Chewie
really
had some nice attacks.
fun to watch.
Yep.
Um, and we kind of hitting down, right. I think we're doing all right in this upcoming war. Of course, it kind of gets it right down to the end of it, like just depending on their attacks. Doesn't seem like we get any free wars
No,
like we used to
it's all hard work.
here and there. Who else do I need to shout out? Let me look here. Megaback, who just joined too.
Nice.
Moo Killer, that Tal Shiar. I don't know who the hell that guy.
You're who the
Jesus.
Tal Shiar? It must be
Yeah.
somebody needs to kick him from the clan.
Get him out of there. Out. Yeah, thanks everybody. That was really fun. Seeing everybody come in and contributing to the clan capital. I really wish you could see who was contributing what exactly. But we made huge progress over this
Yep.
last week.
Already at level 5. Yeah.
Yeah, and I thought, oh wow, like coming in, okay, it's gonna take a little bit. And Max, oh wow, did you see this? Did you see this?
Yep.
So thanks everybody. We're gonna start CWL this week, and I think we'll be back next week to talk all about it. How about you, Tip? Shout outs?
Other than what I just gave, I don't have any specific.
Anymore? All
No.
right. I think that's it for me. So keep it clashy, everybody.
Suck it, nerds.
Suck it, nerds. All right.
Skilly beep 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 skilly beep.